This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
There's a lot of self-proclaimed geniuses out there that know the national yield, but they're all wrong.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, October 15th, and this is the 500th edition of the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here had December corn down 3/4 at 4.12 1/4. November soybeans were down 2 1/4 at 10.04 1/4, and December Chicago wheat was down 4.5 at 4.95 3/4. Excuse me. We are through 10 of 23 settlements for the harvest price discovery period for crop insurance. Corn is currently sitting at 417.5. Soybeans are at 1016 3/4. Good morning, guys. I guess what we know this morning, had some rhetoric from the White House yesterday regarding used cooking oil. Didn't seem to really shake things up too much. We did see a little bit of a bean break, and I think it was just kind of attributed to, more negative rhetoric in terms of China and the United States. We're on day 15 of the government shutdown. Becomes more and more annoying. Still not getting any government data. So obviously we need to get things figured out there, and harvest is still rocking and rolling for a good majority of the corn belt. So guys are moving pretty good, which is always nice. So with that, Dustin, why don't we kick off a few thoughts here this morning, and then we'll throw around the room.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say exactly. We're still obviously doing this like a headline roulette with the administration. So interesting that, grains are probably still getting like the brunt end of it, where like equities have been finding support here and there. We have to also remember this is a time of year where a lot of product is moving. The need to raise cash is higher than it is in other years, in my opinion, because we've had a couple of years of low prices now. So it's not like it's 2023 where we had a bunch of $7 corn sales in January 2023. The need to raise cash was probably not as high harvest 2023 as it would be harvest 2025. And as we've been talking about, as you get to the late stage of harvest, past the 50% mark, where's all this excess corn acres going to go? Excess corn. We are hearing anecdotal reports of really good yields in places like Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska. So I understand that Iowa yields are definitely off from last year, but with the acres and with the yield reports we're hearing from the Northern Plains, I wouldn't be surprised that we feel that pressure here for the next couple of months.
Very good. We're going to get NOPA out here at 11 o'clock. So it'll be nice to get a little bit of data in some capacity. Looking for a number close to 186.43. So like I said, again, 11 o'clock Central, we'll get NOPA. Justin, what's your thoughts on this broken record of a market? It feels like. Oh, he got muted.
Yeah, I was just thinking, 500 episodes feels like 200 of them talking about the same things.
Yeah.
I think, obviously used cooking oil is kind of a joke. I think they kind of keep teasing the market, going back and forth on like, who cares, screw them. And then, no, we're still friends. We're going to meet. And it's just kind of adding to this, just like uncertainty. So like not a lot of willingness to want to get into a position because you don't know what the next headline is going to be. So I think it's just kind of keeping people out of the markets, or our markets, I should say. I mean, obviously gold, some of these other ones are kind of rocking and rolling. Cattle, there's some commodities that have really kind of been on fire, a lot of volatility. I get why. It's like they'd rather put their chips and play in those markets than ours right now until there's more clarity. Yeah, I will say, like, I think, looking like Argentina and, everybody getting super mad because we're going to do this kind of bailout. I do think there's kind of more strategic play there. If you look at, they're like number one, almost tied number one for strategic reserves of, or global reserves of lithium. So I don't think it's necessarily, I think there's probably some more strategic things there when we're trying to really lock down rare earths and things that China has a lot of control over. Argentina is way up there as far as, like, total millions of tons that are in that country. So, when I look at that, those kinds of things that China could threaten us over, and we try to lock those things down, 20 billion is probably a low dollar amount to pay. And, to Trump's point, farmers are mad and want trade deals with China, but I think there's, beans are going to take a very, very far back seat to some of these bigger issues, I think, that we're trying to figure out. So if he has to give, if it's just giving money and subsidizing the U.S. farmer while we do these things, I think that would probably be what to be expecting, personally. Go like say, oh, let's just do a trade deal with China. Like those times are probably gone. They might say they're going to buy some chunk. So it's whether we throw money at the U.S. farmer or China does, right? It's all part of a lot bigger dollars that are at play on, I think, this whole kind of trade war that we're going through.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Kyle brings us a comment, guys, from Iowa. It's the hardest thing to do is nothing. And I think we've talked about this a lot of time here maybe there is, nothing that needs to be done now, but it's understanding what could come from different scenarios, right? It's, if you saw a 50 or 60 cent rally in corn or a 30-cent break, what does that mean for your operation with all these moving parts and everything that's, with crop insurance expiring and just all these different pieces of the puzzle. So there's quite a lot to do if there is nothing to do, right? Like, I mean,
Kyle brings up a good point. I mean, if you take, let's call it the range in corn from 390 to 430, I think the market did a really good job of sniffing out, if it were to get much below that, there was a lot of stuff to be done between end users and holders of big crop insurance policies, those kinds of things. And above 430, same thing. So I think the market's done a good job of staying in these ranges where it's hard to get excited one way or the other to make a major change. You start getting way below farm bill payments and, where your profitability starts, really ramping back up on a really sharp break. I think the market did a good job of sniffing that out. And then we rallied back to levels where it started looking good the other way. So it's been really good at figuring out where these crop insurance put strikes are, I think, and kind of sticking right in the middle of sucky, personally. So
no other way to
that's
put
how
it.
I feel, not to sugarcoat it. That's just,
no, it does suck. And then you can't get the government open. I mean, I don't know. I'm beyond annoyed. These guys are they're awful. Both sides. Just get it done.
I have a question for the group, right? Because I kind of posed this last night in the letter, and it's like, okay, the government's shut down. We're not going to get, any sort of farm aid relief package announced until that's there. Seems like that's a little politicized. But Trump and Xi are still meeting, right, in South Korea
today. Yeah, I
right.
mean, as of today, we'll see if it changes. But
yeah, so in like Trump's, his Truth Social posts are directly related to them not buying beans. Like that's obviously a big sticking point for him. It's like, who's to say like there aren't concessions made, and there's not a deal that's reached before the government reopens. Maybe that MFP payment doesn't come then, right? Like that. Like what does it look like? I guess if like there's a handshake and some sort of phase one type trade deal, what does the market do? And then is there any more support coming? I would think not.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on that, it feels to me like this is different than the first time around as far as like what a win looks like for him. To me, it felt like a win was we're going to make them buy all these products from us and balance the trade deficit.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's, more locking down some of these other strategic industries that we need to.
Yeah. National security.
Right. That doesn't mean that, he still loves to cut a deal, right? So it doesn't mean that, like, hey, why don't we buy 10 million tons of beans just to make them happy? You never can rule any of that kind of stuff out. But
I mean, Justin, have you ever seen an instance where they canceled South America and would turn the business over to the United States? I mean, could they do that at this stage?
I mean, like I said, I think the dollars are so small compared to these bigger industries that we're talking about that they could just say, I'm going to go buy 10 million tons of beans for strategic reserve. I mean,
Like, who cares?
Dump them in the ocean if they want it,
Mm-hmm.
It's just about dollars, right? I mean, 10 million tons of beans isn't very much money compared to what we're talking about. Now, make our markets, definitely would like that, but it's just whether you want to spend the money to have to buy beans from the U.S. or spend the money on tariffs, or at the end of the day, it is costing them a lot of money on tariffs, and their economy is not doing great. So I do think China does want to figure something out. So,
Ben, what's on your mind over there in the East?
On a positive note, maybe quasi-supportive, I don't think it's enough to overcome problems with exports and ag, but the federal chairman yesterday, Jerome Powell, announced that we're going to see 2 more rate cuts this year and 1 next year. So that, I think that gives a little bit of an underlying support to physical commodities, but I don't know that if it's enough to overcome the fundamental problems of not being able to export soybeans.
Yeah.
it will be interesting once we do see. I mean, it's hard to tell how much business we're doing. Obviously, we could have been selling the snot out of corn the last several weeks, or even beans, to be honest. But
What'd you think of inspections, Justin? I mean, they were, 994,000 for beans and 1.1 million for corn. So
yeah, they're decent. I mean, the thing is, you don't know what sales were, right?
Yeah.
Commitments, right? I mean, they could have bought 10 million tons in that time frame. Sure doesn't necessarily feel like it. Like the market, I felt like would have sniffed that out if there's that kind of business getting done. But nonetheless, we are, holding in decent, I guess. I think corn kind of needs to hold here. Kind of what was that most traded area, Ben? Was that low, like 407, 408 or something around?
406 and a quarter, and kind of down to 404, 404 and a half.
Yeah, so we're kind of getting, down towards those levels where we did a lot of volume. So I would think if corn's going to try to hold somewhere, it's going to try it in there.
Yeah.
If it was any good. So.
Very good. Well, we got a couple minutes here, Ryland. We'll move over to fresh highs for cattle, fresh lows for hogs. It's kind of a tale of 2 stories there. What are your thoughts here this morning as we start off?
Yeah, I mean, no turnaround Tuesday in the cattle market. So new highs, new record highs. Feeder market is still on fire here. Auction markets were up sharply. Feeder cattle index still rocking and rolling. So there just really hasn't been a change anywhere at this point. I mean, you got 8 days straight up. Obviously, the market's starting to get into overbought territory now. So there is kind of elevated downside risk. But at this point, beef markets have been relatively stable, even with the higher kills that we're seeing. So I think just in general, there's a lot of optimism and a lot riding on cash this week. So I think we have to see packers pay up pretty sharply just to kind of reinforce that this rally is real and it's not just some kind of technical kind of stop hunt blow off top kind of price action. But overall, yeah, I think we are getting to that point where it's kind of time to put up or shut up at this point. But on the hog side of things, yeah, we're still liquidating. I mean, it does kind of seem like, you had this really heavy long coming into this time period where seasonally we typically see cash and carcass start to fall lower. And we've been seeing just that. Cash market's down another $3 for this week. Cutout did stabilize. Bellies were up again. But overall, I think it's just you had this really big long in the market. You have really kind of negative kind of back and forth rhetoric with China, it seems like there's a massive risk off, and that may be kind of amplifying this break a little bit. So it does seem like the discount on the board is getting relatively wide versus where cash is trading right now. So I think hopefully we can see some kind of relief at this point, especially with Carcass just kind of holding up for right now. So.
Very good. Appreciate the update there, Rye. We just coming into the open here. Get December corn down a penny at 4.12. November soybeans are down 2 now at 10.04.5, and December Chicago wheat's down 5 at 4.95 3/4. As we mentioned here in the beginning, today marks the 500th episode of the AgYield War Room. We certainly appreciate everybody that's tuned in. As Justin mentioned, on over 500 shows, you got to find some things to talk about. So kudos to the guys for filling space on quiet days for sure. But we're having a lot of fun with it. We're looking forward to continuing to, advance the show and keep bringing, our take on the markets and our unique views on how we view risk management. So again, thanks to everybody that supports us. Jack put together kind of a neat little montage for the outro today, so be sure to hang around. Kind of highlights where we started and where we're at today. So pretty cool stuff there. Also, one last thing, NOPA will be out at 11 o'clock Central. We'll take a look at that, talk about it in tomorrow morning's War Room. And again, thanks to everybody that supports the show. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so, and it'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. So again, thanks again to everybody that supports us there. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live at 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great day, and we look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, November 13th, and this is the AgYield War Room. My name is Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. Well, boys, we made it.